ever convince me, ever in this life, that Trent is the best right back in the world. I always say this. There's this thing for me that what football fans don't understand is that why does there have to be a world-class person? Why does there have to be someone who is world-class in a particular position? Just because there's no one else who fills the vacuum, or there's no one else who might be better than the person that is of discussion. It doesn't have to be a world-class right-back. Trent is a very, 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 very good footballer who still has so much to work on. His defensive positioning is awful. His one-on-one defending is awful. There were numerous occasions.
That is bollocks, Daniel.
Let me finish. I'll let you speak. So, people are tired of hearing you anyway. But defensively, awful defensively. They got the job done. Like I don't think any of the English teams have been impressive, really, if we're being honest. Like Chelsea, creativity wise, they could have done better. Man City defensively, I still think there's a bit of issues there, because I don't think they would have been happy with the amount of goals they conceded. Yes, they outscored their opponents, everyone knows that, but obviously I know Pep would have wanted to keep the door shut. Man United, obviously we know what happened there. They would have been disappointed with that defeat. And then Liverpool, I just think no, I'm not a Liverpool fan. So you lot will do the talking of the game and whatnot, but no one will ever convince me, ever in this life, that Trent is the best right back in the world. I always say this. There's this thing for me that what football fans don't understand is that why does there have to be a world-class person? Why does there have to be someone who is world-class in a particular position? Just because there's no one else who fills the vacuum, or there's no one else who might be better than the person that is of discussion. It doesn't have to be a world-class right-back. Trent is a very, 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 very good footballer who still has so much to work on. His defensive positioning is awful. His one-on-one defending is awful. There were numerous occasions.
That is bollocks, Daniel.
Let me finish. I'll let you speak. So, people are tired of hearing you anyway. But defensively, awful defensively. Going forward, he's one of the best players I've ever seen going forward, especially as a defender. But like we keep saying, you cannot continue to be a 10 out of 10 and a 10 out of 10 attacker, and a subpar defender when your job description is right back. We know Klopp plays through his right backs. He plays through his fullback, plays with the width and all of that kind of stuff. He's the guy, the outlet. We know that in the system he plays, he's one of the attackers. We know that. At the end of the day, Klopp is not this new man, revolutionary man who has told us that fullbacks no longer defend. Fullbacks are still supposed to defend. They are part of the defense. Klopp will not tell you that he tells Trent you're absolved of all defensive responsibility. So for me, Trent can continue being this great attacker. I think he's an excellent attacker. But the reason why no other manager who plays the way Klopp does or implements tactics the way Klopp does will be able to get the best out of Trent Alexander-Arnold is because Trent is not currently being coached how to be a better defender. And until he is coached to be a better defender, I will refuse to call him a world-class player. And that's facts.
What I find very interesting about Trent tonight is, again, I want to put these shots up on the screen. This was just at the start. By the way, he got passed around very, very easily. He pressed in too quickly and got 1-2 around very easily. But I want you to focus on the fact that he is level with Diaz, who's the second AC Milan player up by the halfway line. They're level with each other at this point. This was a few seconds later, just as the ball's about to be reversed. As the ball's about to be reversed, it wasn't Diaz, he was level. Whoever it was, the player is here now on the right-hand side. Look at the difference between Trent and him. They were level on the halfway line, and now there's what?
Terry, the first goal's worse. The first goal.
I totally get that, but for me, this wasn't even bad defending. This was a lack of desire to get back. For me, Trent is quick. There's no reason for Trent not to be level with this guy, not to be level with him, and running along. He should have been on the inside of him, level, then that reverse pass doesn't happen. Everyone was blaming like the centre backs being out of position, and I couldn't for the life of me understand why Trent Alexander-Arnold wasn't being criticised for that goal. To be at that position and to not keep up with him, you're not slow, you're not a slouch. Those things for me are key. And I don't know what your thoughts are, Sonny, like on him. Like for me, he was massively culpable for both of your goals today. And when it comes down to the finer echelons of this tournament, he could be one of the reasons that you don't win anything this year from a defensive point of view.
The reason they got knocked out last year, let's not forget about that.
For those two pictures, I'd have to see the clip again because obviously pictures can make things look worse. But for Trent, I want to go back to what Danny said. Awful defending something, he said. Trent is not awful at anything defensively. I think people are just forgetting. Trent is one of those players where he'll have 1 in 5 games, maybe a bad defensive game in one of those 5 games, and it'll be really bad. But in the other 4 games, he'll be defensively sound. And people just love to look at the one bad game every 5 games, something like that, and always pick out that one game and say, you know what, you defended bad in that game. We'll ignore the other 4 games. You were good in them, but we want to look at this game because you stood out bad defensively. And we'll go, you know what, you were bad in that one. Let's focus on this one. And you look like you've been embarrassed in that one. So we use this one as your real picture to show what sort of player you are. In the other 4 games, why don't we pick out the majority of his games and look how he defends? Because in the majority of Trent's games, he's defensively sound. He doesn't get caught out. He's not that sort of player in the majority of his games. He has the odd game once every 5 games where he will get like pulled out. He'll get embarrassed. That's 1 in every 5 games, and we always focus on that 1 in 5.
Hang on a minute. How can you be a world-class footballer but be embarrassed once every 5 games? World-class, like Virgil van Dijk is a world-class.
1 in 5 games.
No. Virgil van Dijk's a world-class centre-back. He's not embarrassed 1 in every 5 games. Robertson on the left is a world-class right-back in my opinion, or he's one of the best right-backs around. He's
not a world-class defender.
Hang on, whoa. He isn't embarrassed once every 5 games. Trent can't be a world-class football player if the other half of his job, you're saying he's a world-class crosser. He can be a world-class playmaker, but that doesn't mean he's world-class overall.
No, because he's good defensively.
But that doesn't mean you're world-class then.
Yes, it does. You don't need to be world-class at every single attribute to be a world-class player.
When you're a defender, you need to be world-class at defending.
Oh,
you cannot. No. I'm sorry. You can be a striker. Hang on. No. Yes, you can. Because Jurgen Klopp himself, Sonny, sat there and kicked off about him being played in midfield because he was saying he's not a midfielder. Is a defender. He defends the right-hand side of our team. Jurgen Klopp's actual words were, he defends the right-hand side of our pitch. I'm paraphrasing here, but he defends the right-hand side of our pitch brilliantly, he said. Defends the right-hand side of our pitch. His job is to defend. You've just said he gets embarrassed once every 5 games.
Once every 5 games.
That's ridiculously bad.
No,
that's ridiculously bad.
Sonny, tell me a defender who gets embarrassed once every 5 games.
But what you're forgetting is those 4 games where he is amazing, and he is so obviously the standout player in the world.
That's the line. Let me tell you something now, yeah. And this is to all Liverpool fans who watch the game different to all of us. And Tom, I want to hear your thoughts on this. Let me tell you now. Every single time I watch Liverpool, of course, there's going to be games where Trent doesn't get, or Trent's defending doesn't lead to a goal. I think that's maybe where you're mixing things up, because we believe, I believe consensually, a lot of fans believe that Trent was one of the major reasons as to why AC Milan scored those 2 of their goals today, because it came from that side. Just because Trent's mistakes don't lead to a goal doesn't mean he isn't making mistakes defensively. There are a lot of times in games where Gomez or whoever the centre-back is, Matip and Van Dijk, or probably Matip, because Matip's the one who usually plays on the right-hand side, and even Gomez at times when he plays on the right-hand side, clean up some of the messes that Trent makes in a game. I'm not disputing the fact that Trent has had very good defensive games. However, when we're talking about world-class, one of the biggest key phrases when it comes to a world-class player is consistency. And as a defender, he is not a consistent world-class defender. He's not even a consistent, very good defender. I would say he's average. He's an average defender. And for you to be considered world-class, a world-class right-back, being an average defender, not in my book. No way.
He's held at world-class expectations, isn't he?
Well, he's held at world-class expectations because people call him world-class. I tell you what it comes down to is this. What's happened is that we've had quite a few young right backs come through at the same time in England that are all very, very good at certain elements of their games. For instance, AWB's one-on-one defending was so good for a young player, we all overlooked areas and frailties within his game because you're meant to when they're young. Interestingly, with all of these guys, I'm not writing any of them off permanently, but they need to be developed. Defenders don't tend to reach their best levels until their mid-20s and beyond. And it's like we're all acting like they have to be the finished articles right now. They can all, and probably all will.